Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing very well. So the Academy Awards nominations for 2021 were released earlier today, much earlier today, because I'm actually filming this in the middle of the night. So if it sounds like I'm trying to be quiet, that's because I am, because it's literally 2 a.m. But anyways, so we're going to be discussing my thoughts on the 2021 Academy Awards nominations list. I'm going to be telling you guys who I want to win and who I actually think will end up taking the awards home. But before we delve into my thoughts on the specific categories of these nominees, I did want to give you guys a roundup of my thoughts of the list overall, and that is just to say that like, it's just more of the same, isn't it, really? Like, are we shocked and surprised by anything here? Not really. As is the case with most years when it comes to awards season, by the time that we've reached the Academy Awards nominations, these studios have already undergone these huge awards campaigns for their films. They spent millions of dollars promoting their films to critics and to these awards bodies. And so by the time that we get to this stage, there's a very small, select pool of films that are up for consideration in the first place. So that's why we end up seeing the same films time and time again, just regurgitated in order to be considered for these awards. And that's why when the awards list came out, I was like, oh, of course, I could have guessed this. I did guess this when I was covering the Golden Globes nominations list. Like, it's all the same thing. Having said that though, I did want to spotlight the BAFTAs, which released their nominations list for 2021 last week, and I didn't get a chance to cover that last week, but I will say I was pleasantly surprised to see a little bit more variation. We're not talking about anything crazy. There were, of course, the usual suspects for the 2021 awards season, but at the same time, there was an attempt there to, of course, spotlight British filmmaking, as the BAFTAs often do, because they're the BAFTAs. And as a result, we did get a little bit more variation in the types of projects that were highlighted in their nominations list. For example, we got the prevalence of Netflix's His House and White Tiger being featured on their nominations list, even though we haven't really seen the presence of those films in other nominations lists. So that was a nice surprise, okay? It put a smile to my face to see the BAFTAs actually watching stuff, okay? Actually watching stuff that doesn't have a huge awards campaign behind it. I'm sure Netflix promoted the hell out of His House and the hell out of White Tiger as well, which managed to sneak into the nominations list for the Oscars as a result. But still, it was nice to see the BAFTAs seemingly at least trying to watch other things that aren't just shoved their way, and especially because they want to highlight British talent and British filmmaking. And speaking of Netflix, going back to the Academy Awards nominations for 2021, a huge feature that is present in this nominations list is, of course, Netflix themselves. They are juggernauts when it comes to their awards campaigns. Truly, they have mastered the awards campaigns so well. We're seeing the prevalence of a lot of Netflix performances and documentaries and projects being listed here in the nominees list, and it is very impressive to see this studio now, this streaming service slash studio, be so present in a lot of these awards seasons and seeing them actually take trophies home. But now let's go ahead and dive into this list. But before we do, as per usual, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and make sure you turn on your notifications so that you can be told when I upload next. And if you enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a like and comment down below and let me know what your thoughts are on the nominations list for the 2021 Oscars, and also be sure to let me know who you think will win or should win these awards. Without further ado, let's go through my thoughts on the 2021 Academy Awards nominations. So we're starting off with Best Actor in a Lead Role, and here the nominees are Riz Ahmed for Sound of Metal, Chadwick Boseman for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Anthony Hopkins for The Father, Gary Oldman for Mank, and Stephen Yeun for Minari. Now, the major difference that we see in this nominations list in comparison to some of the others that we've seen for the other awards ceremonies would, of course, be the featuring of Stephen Yeun for Minari. Now, interestingly enough, Minari was kind of in an interesting position when it comes to the Academy Awards nominations list, which we'll talk about when we get to the relevant category. But I do think it was good to see the acknowledgement of a great performance in Minari, in acknowledging Stephen Yeun and nominating him for this category. However, as I've been saying in regards to the Golden Globes, I do think that it's likely that Chadwick Boseman is going to end up getting this award due to the fact that this was his final performance, his final in-person live action performance. performance, and he won't get the chance to, you know, get an award like this ever again. It would be an opportunity for the Academy to honor his contributions and his previous performances and just what he added to the industry overall. Like, this was a huge kind of legacy award for him, and so I feel like it's pretty much a lock at this point because he's been winning pretty much everything else, so it would make sense that the Academy would vote his way. If there was ever going to be a dark horse, someone who could come in the last minute, I would say that it would likely be Riz Ahmed for Sound of Metal. I still think that he has one of the best performances of the entire year in that film. He is truly excellent in it, and I think in any other year he would be a stronger front runner for the award. It's just that because of the external circumstances surrounding Chadwick Boseman's final performance in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, I do think that he's pretty much a lock for this one. Okay, so next up, the next nominees that we have here are for the Best Actress in a Leading Role. Now here the nominees are Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Andra Day for the United States versus Billie Holiday, I always stumble on that title, Vanessa Kirby for Pieces of a Woman, Frances McDormand for Nomadland, Carey Mulligan for Promising Young Woman. So if I'd seen this list about a month ago, I would have told you that this was pretty boring. This is pretty substandard. Okay, I was rooting for Viola Davis when this very list did come out about a month ago for the Golden Globes nominations, and I still pretty much feel like Viola Davis's performance is the strongest out of all of these in the nominations list. However, things were made a little bit more interesting, a little bit more exciting when we saw Andra Day, the one person who I thought was the least likely to take home the award for the Golden Globes, actually win. Like, that was such an exciting turn of events, and since then I have seen the United States versus Billie Holiday, and I have to say her performance is very much the best part of that film. She is truly astonishing in that role, so I completely understand when people say like the rest of the film is, it has its issues, okay, especially in the final act. Oh, it has its issues, but her performance is faultless. Her performance is definitely the bright light, the shining star of that film. So I do think she's very deserving of the Academy Award nomination here, and I actually think she might even have a chance of taking the award home. I wouldn't have said so about a month ago, and in fact I didn't when I covered the Golden Globe nominations, but she won. She won, and rightfully so. Now I would say that shy of Andra Day taking home this award as well, which I think she's a bit on rocky ground here because this film hasn't been nominated for anything else because it's not that great. Honestly, it's not that great, and she is the best part of it, so I'm glad to see that she was nominated. After all, the Academy Award is supposed to be about celebrating the best in each category, so I appreciate the fact that even though the film isn't the best, that they actually highlight her performance in it because it was incredible. However, I do think because of the lack of nominations elsewhere, it does mean that it's less of a front runner here, and I actually think that Carey Mulligan might even stand a chance to take this one home ultimately. I think it would be the one award that Promising Young Woman will actually take home, unfortunately, because I do like that film, although I do have an issue with its final act as well, funnily enough. Okay, so let's keep things rolling, and next up we have Best Actor in a Supporting Role. Here the nominees are Sacha Baron Cohen for The Trial of the Chicago 7, Daniel Kaluuya for Judas and the Black Messiah, Leslie Odom Jr. for One Night in Miami, Paul Raci for Sound of Metal, and Lakeith Stanfield for Judas and the Black Messiah as well. Now, I have a massive smile on my face. I have a massive smile. Oh, look, I've won. I've won. I'm so delighted to have won because I told you. I told all of you that Lakeith Stanfield deserved better, and someone heard me. Someone heard my pleas and my cries, and look, he's here, featured, rightfully so, on this list. Although actually, rightfully so might be a bit of a strong assertion there, because I do think that he should kind of be on the Best Actor in a Lead Role category, maybe? because the film is technically centered around this character. Like, if there is a lead role in that film, Judas and the Black Messiah, it would probably be Lakeith Stanfield's character, surely. I figure that the studio decided to put him under best supporting role because he would stand more of a chance against, you know, Chadwick Boseman's lock on the lead role category for actors. So I think it was more of a strategic move to have him there, but it makes less sense really if you look at the context of the film. But still, I'm happy to see him acknowledged. I'm happy to see him nominated for his performance in that film, because absolutely, the Golden Globes dropped the ball. I told them, why didn't they nominate Lakeith Stanfield? I'm so glad someone listened. I'm so glad someone heard my cries and rectified that immediately for the Academy Awards nominations. Well done. Well done. Bare minimum behavior, but well done nonetheless. Still though, with all of that being said, I do think that Daniel Kaluuya should absolutely take this one home. Yup, absolutely. He should take this one home. Absolutely. First of all, it's his second Academy Award nomination. I'm so proud of Daniel Kaluuya. Literally, I'm so proud of him. He's from like my ends, by the way. He's like from North London. So that's why pride, just full of pride bursting through my heart right now. So proud of him. And I think he will take the second one home. He was, of course, nominated for Get Out, which is an achievement in itself because it was a horror film. And you know how the Academy loves to ignore horror film and performances in horror films. Lupita Nyong'o. Anyways, so the fact that he was nominated for his role in Get Out, already astonishing, already an achievement. But here I do think that he deserves to take it home. Absolutely, absolutely. I will say though, to be fair, this entire list is pretty just to me. Like, it really does make sense. And another dark horse that I haven't seen being featured in other nominations list is Paul Raci. I think that's how you pronounce it, but he was in Sound of Metal. I think he was excellent in that film, and I'm so glad that he's been highlighted here. But ultimately, Daniel Kaluuya is my guy. I hope that he takes this award home. So next up, our next category is Best Actress in a Supporting Role, and here the nominees are Maria Bakalova for Borat's subsequent movie film, Glenn Close for Hillbilly Elegy, Olivia Colman for The Father, Amanda Seyfried for Mank, and Yoo Jun-yoon for Minari. I'm so sorry for butchering that name, but this is an exciting list. This is exciting, particularly because of one performance here. Maria Bakalova has made it to the Academy Awards. Look at the smile. Look at the smile. I said in my review of Borat that I thought that she was the best part of that film. I'm so happy that she is getting acknowledgement for her performance in that film. Wow. How the turns have tabled. Wow. Because the thing is, what's key to note here is that there are so few comedic performances that are featured in Academy Awards nominations list. So few. But to see her actually break through and enter this category is such an achievement. I'm so happy for her. I think she's excellent in that film. I don't even know who's going to win. It will likely be Amanda Seyfried. Honestly, people were surprised that she didn't end up winning the Golden Globe because she was a front runner in this category. It will likely be her, but you know, I would like to see Maria Bakalova, you know, take this one home because it's just a symbolic win at this point to see a comedic performance actually take home the Academy Award. I have no idea who will actually win though. And honestly, the stakes are pretty low for me personally in this category. I think it's likely that Amanda Seyfried will win. Perhaps we can even see Minari's Yoo Jun-yoon. I'm so sorry for butchering that name. But maybe that will be the one performance that is kind of honored from Minari. Like I said, we'll talk about Minari in a second. So either way, I'd be happy to see any of these take it home, but so happy for Maria for being nominated in this category. It's very impressive. Okay, so next up, our next nominees here are for Best Director. And here the nominees are Thomas Vinterberg for Another Round, Emerald Fennell for Promising Young Woman, David Fincher for Mank, Lee Isaac Chung for Minari, and Chloe Zhao for Nomadland. Now, this is an interesting list. It is a little different to the list that we saw for the Golden Globes, where we saw 3 female directors being featured on that nominations list. Notably, we see the absence of Regina King for One Night in Miami. But I do think that the list here is pretty well done. Okay, I'm pretty satisfied with it. Apart from the absence of Shaka King for Judas and the Black Messiah. Okay, so listen to this, right? Listen to this logic. So you like the performances in his film. Okay, great performances, very well done. You like the adapted screenplay. Okay, interesting. You like the film itself. You nominate it for Best Picture, which we'll talk about in a second. Okay, but the director has nothing to do with it. The director has nothing, like he wasn't even there. He wasn't even part of the film, really. It just happens to have his name on it. He had nothing to do with it, right? Right, because that's what you're telling me by his absence in this list. It makes no goddamn sense. Why isn't Shaka King on this list? Some of these films have fewer nominations than his film, but he's not on this list. What? Listen, I don't claim to know everything about directing or even filmmaking in general, so take this all with a grain of salt, okay? But the fact that he's absent from this list makes no goddamn sense to me. It really just doesn't. This is another lapse in judgment. This is yet another example of these awards bodies almost getting there, almost being perfect, but then doing just this one thing to annoy the hell out of me. This is the example for this category. Just, so annoying. But I will say I am happy to see the director of Another Round get recognition for his work in that film, because I think that film is simply excellent, and we'll talk about that in a second. I'm also happy to see Emerald Fennell get her recognition for Promising Young Woman, and also Chloe Zhao, who I do think will likely be the winner of this category, also get acknowledgement for her work on Nomadland. Okay, so next up we have the big one. We have the nominees for Best Picture, and this year the nominees are The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, Minari, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and The Trial of the Chicago 7. Okay, so in this category, the Academy does have the option of including 10 nominees, but this year we only see 8. Now, there's this kind of complex algorithm that calculates how many nominees that are going to be featured in this list every year. It depends on how people voted for the films and what placement and position they actually came in. It's a whole mess of a situation, honestly. But as a result of that algorithm, of that alchemy, they've determined that only 8 films are going to be featured in this category for this year. So let's go through my thoughts on these 8 films. First of all, The Father. Who's seen The Father? If you've seen The Father, let me know. Let me know down in the comments below. Let me know if it's a good film. Honestly, I'm sure it's great. I'm sure it's serviceable. But like, it's for the awards voters that are like slightly older. You know what I mean? Like the traditional awards voters, you know, who like to see people who look like them be featured every year. It is for them. Okay, we understand what's going on there. Judas and the Black Messiah should absolutely win. Should absolutely win. I'm so sorry. Let's cut this short right now. Let's give the award to Judas and the Black Messiah right now. It should absolutely win. Out of all of these films, none of them had the same lasting impact on me personally as Judas and the Black Messiah. And you might say, you know, for obvious reasons, okay, but I still stand by my assertment that none of these films, I mean, there are some films that start off great. For example, Promising Young Woman, I think the first 2/3 were very compelling. I did not like that final act, I'm sorry. You also have films like Mank, which is for some people, I'll say this much, okay, if Mank wins this award, okay, wins Best Picture at the Academy Awards this year, I will release my review of the film finally on my YouTube channel, because I have it filmed already from December, so I'll release it and you can hear my thoughts on that film finally if it does win Best Picture. That's a promise that I'll make to you guys. But otherwise, the premise, the idea, great, you know, David Fincher, excellent filmmaker, no one can deny that, but the film itself, no. I'm so sorry. Nomadland, for those of you who have watched my Golden Globes coverage already, you'll know that Nomadland didn't sit right with me. It really didn't. I like the subject matter. I like the way that they tried to explore this, you know, very underrepresented community in America. I like that. I didn't love the execution. It's not the style of filmmaking that makes me compelled by the storytelling. It makes me feel, you know, any emotional reaction, even if it's not just excitement. Like, I felt nothing watching Nomadland apart from boredom. So I'm so sorry. Even though it's likely the front runner, like it will likely win in this category, which just fine, but I personally did not enjoy that film much at all. I still want to give props to Chloe Zhao for what she's able to do here, and also the fact that she's making history by being nominated in these categories, but Sound of Metal would be my second runner-up when it comes to films that actually had a lasting impact on me. I really enjoyed that film. I think it's purely excellent, and I think it is driven by an excellent performance by Riz Ahmed, so I'm glad to see that he was also acknowledged for his incredible performance in that film. I don't think it's a front runner, unfortunately. I mean, the competition is tough because of Judas and the Black Messiah, nothing else. Like, you could swap out anything else for me personally, but because of Judas and the Black Messiah, I think that it is more deserving than Sound of Metal in this category, but it kind of doesn't matter because I think that Nomadland has the one up here after winning the Golden Globe and a ton of other awards. Okay, so we're not going to be delving into every single category for the Academy Awards nominations list, simply because there's a lot of repetition here. Okay, there's a lot of categories that I quite frankly don't know anything about. I mean, I won't be able to tell you who a frontrunner should be for best sound. Like, I'm not the girl. Like, some other girl could, but not me, okay, unfortunately. So if you came to hear that, I'm so sorry to disappoint. So we're going to be jumping to something that I found interesting, which was Best Adapted Screenplay. Here the nominees were Borat, subsequent movie film, The Father, Nomadland, One Night in Miami, and The White Tiger. Now we see here the first feature for One Night in Miami outside of the acting categories, which is cool. I do think it was pretty surprising to see the lack of love that the Academy gave to that film, considering how prevalent it was elsewhere, especially with the omission of Regina King for director. But what really excited me in this category was to see The White Tiger get a nomination here. I think that's just excellent. I'm so happy to see it be nominated in this category. I don't know if it stands a chance against juggernauts like Nomadland, although having said that, I have no idea why Borat's subsequent movie film is also listed here. That makes no goddamn sense to me whatsoever, but I'm very happy to see The White Tiger. It's an excellent film, again, by Netflix, so I'm really happy to see it be featured in this list and actually get some recognition by the Academy. People who have actually watched films for the last year. Well done for doing the bare minimum once again. And in terms of Best Original Screenplay, we did see the omission of Mank, surprisingly enough, which was written by David Fincher's father. I think a lot of people expected that he would be nominated posthumously for his work on that film, but instead the nominees here are Judas and the Black Messiah, Minari, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and The Trial of the Chicago 7. Again, a lot of repetition here. I can't even begin to tell you who would be a frontrunner for this category. Maybe Minari, I don't know, because it hasn't gotten the nomination elsewhere, which we'll talk about in a second. Maybe Judas and the Black Messiah if it doesn't win Best Picture, which it should. I really hope that it does win Best Picture. I really hope that they just shock us all and they're like, psych, you thought we were going for Nomadland, but enough people voted for it in like third position that Judas and the Black Messiah was able to overtake it. Oh, I hope that happens. That would make me eternally grateful and happy, but it's looking unlikely. So whoever doesn't end up getting enough recognition elsewhere will likely be handed this award, basically. That tends to be what happens in these awards ceremonies. Okay, so next up, let's jump into a category that is pretty much a lock in Best Animated Feature Film. Here the nominees are Onward, Over the Moon, a Shaun the Sheep movie, Farmageddon, Soul, and Wolf Walkers. First of all, I'm shocked to see a Shaun the Sheep movie, Farmageddon, be featured on this list. I had no idea that it came out this year or last year. Didn't it come out in like 2018 or something? I feel like that film came out ages ago, no? Maybe it came out earlier in the UK because it is a Shaun the Sheep film. So it's possible that it came out years ago in the UK and it's just landed here in America recently, and that's why it's able to qualify for the Academy Award. But yeah, I'm very shocked to see it there. In terms of the other films, it's a wash. Like we already know what's happening. Like, are we supposed to play? Are we supposed to act like we don't know that Soul is going to take this one home? Because we absolutely know that Soul is taking this one home. Shy of a literal miracle or a literal mistake, like shy of an actual La La Land versus Moonlight mistake, Soul is taking this one home. I'm so sorry to the other films, but like, you're cute but you're not Soul, and I'm not even one of Soul's biggest proponents. I actually think whilst it's an excellent film, it's not the very best that Pixar has had to offer in the last 2 decades, but still, that's completely irrelevant because they will absolutely take the award home. And finally, the final category that we're going to be going through in this video is the Best International Feature Film. Now, interestingly enough, the International Feature Film was renamed relatively recently, I think in the last couple of years, in order to allow it to feature, you know, more films that happen to be in English language but were made in other countries, you know, internationally, aka outside of the US. But as a result of this, it seems as though that they've managed to lock out yet another frontrunner in other awards circuits, that being Minari, because we do see it absent from this list. And I do think it's because it's technically not an international feature film. It was made in the US, but it happens to be a foreign language film in that the characters speak, I believe, South Korean. I still haven't watched it, by the way, so take all of my opinions on Minari with a grain of salt. I do think it's an interesting conundrum that they found there, where in renaming this category and kind of changing the kinds of films that are eligible for this category in order to avoid a situation where a film would be locked out entirely, as was the case with a film that was from Nigeria that happened to be in English, but because it was in English, it wasn't considered a foreign language film. I'll have the film up on the screen right now because I've forgotten the name. But it turns out that either way, you are going to be omitting some films, and in this case, it was Minari, which was featured in many other, you know, international or foreign language films categories in other awards, but in this case, it's just completely absent from it. But the nominees that we do have for this category are Another Round, Better Days, Collective, The Man Who Sold His Skin, and Quo Vadis Ada. I hope I didn't mispronounce that too badly. But either way, Another Round. Either way, I do think the omission of Minari has opened up a beautiful spot for Another Round to just slide on through. And rightfully so. I absolutely love that film. I do think it's one of the best films to come out, I believe, last year, if not, you know, early this year. But it's excellent. It's excellent all around. I wouldn't have been surprised if it was nominated for Best Picture overall, because it really is that excellent. So I'm very happy to see Another Round here, especially because Minari is kind of out of its way now. I do think it is likely to win, and I'm very happy to see it win as well. So that's it from me. Now that I've shared my thoughts on the 2021 93rd Academy Awards nominations list, it's time for you guys to let me know what your thoughts are on this list down in the comments below. Please be sure to subscribe to catch new videos coming up. Thank you guys so much for watching, especially as I'm filming this in like 2 a.m. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!